So.
We'll leave the doors open so that there's cross ventilation through here. Is there another packet? Yeah. No, wait till 6 o'clock and probably. The light is on. We're good.
Yeah, well, shouldn't I wait until 6 or?
I'd say go for it, in case anybody is tuning in.
Okay. Hi, Shayla. All right.
You know what?
I think
Let's get.
Oh, yeah, wait till 7. I'm sorry, I misunderstood you, Kim. I thought you were saying go for it.
Oh.
It seems like for an official meeting, probably waiting to the official start.
Well, until then, we can say, well, Tammy, our new commissioner. We'll have you introduce yourself. Yeah. Yeah.
Is that correct? I have 2 different times going.
Excuse.
Time is a concept here.
You know, I say let's give it a go.
Okay.
Record it. If anything goes wrong, I'll be able to go back and watch it in posterity. So.
All right, with that, let us get started. Can I have a motion to start this meeting?
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Okay. Okay, Allison.
Here.
Alyssa,
Here.
Edie, here, Jamie, here, Tammy, here, and Robin is excused.
It looks like business from the public that we have something. So this was after our last meeting in August. We had a community member who went back and watched it and had some comments that they wanted us to forward along. And so we offered them the opportunity to come to the meeting. They felt comfortable with as long as we provided this information in the packet that was good. So at this point, we do not have any other business from the public. Okay. All right, so with that, let's move on to the meeting, approving the meeting minutes from August. Do you all have someone to?
I'm here to approve the meeting minutes.
Someone can second. All those.
I'm sorry, seconded. Okay, please.
Rectify. All those, in agreement? Anyone object? No? Okay. All right, so this comes to our next item of business, which was, some recommendations regarding river rhythms and summer sounds. This is something that we had discussed in the August meeting, and I set forward language that I worked on drafting. Hopefully everyone got a chance to read that. And let's open it up for some discussion.
I think there's a aspect here for early in the vetting process. What is that?
Oh, thanks for asking that. I don't know that it got transferred, but I think it was within the context of what's possible, because I know that Kim said that there are certain instances where, because of confidentiality within,
Right.
early contracts, that is not possible to know. So let me pull up that exact language. Sorry, we missed that. I feel like you're holding something back, Kim. Oh, I got it. I just wanted to say, Peter, our city manager, and Sean Kidd, who is the city attorney, are here, as these things deal with prickly topics. Sure. And so, figured it would be probably beneficial for all of us to be in on the conversation and ask questions and have it be, more of a collaborative, conversation, as opposed to a game of telephone where it's like, well, let me check on that, and then we go back and, continue back and forth. So yes, on that one, Allison and I had a good conversation. We went and had coffee after Allison made comments, as a citizen, as a resident, at the city council meeting. And so we kind of talked through a little bit about what our process looks like and kind of what the challenges are. And so on our end, a lot of the information that's in the contracts is confidential. And so it's not necessarily something that performers are sending out. They may not be priced the same way between one community to the next. They're trying to hold their dates close to their chest because they're trying to come up with routing and whatnot. And so, it's not necessarily something where you're able to come back with a list and say, oh yes, here are 10 people that we can potentially choose from. Here are their dates are available, here's how much they want to charge and all that kind of good stuff. And even if it was, we wouldn't be able to bring it to a public meeting and have that conversation because their confidentiality, the fact that we rely on sponsors to fund a very large portion of this. And so us controlling the message and being able to ramp up into a season is really important. And so, to be very transparent, I'm probably gonna be far more protective of like that information just because it's what we need in order to keep the programs running. But I'm happy to accept recommendations. It's always on the phone. I'll add them left and right. Somebody recently wanted a YouTube cover band, which may or may not be a good thing, but you know what? I'm in the grocery store. YouTube cover band. So yes. I just want to give a little bit of preface before we kind of like start jumping in.
Just out of curiosity, what was the feedback from the surveys for that?
It's kind of changed. A couple of like 6-7 years ago, they did good snitch as a feedback opportunity because people weren't filling out traditional surveys, they were just blowing passes at the doors. And so it was when apps were starting to be the thing, and so you could scan the QR code and get feedback. It went really well one year, and then after that, it kind of tuggered out to where once again we were like drawing, like stopping people and saying, please tell us what you think. So we've kind of found that social media gives people a very immediate way to let us know good, bad, or ugly how we're doing. And so in all honesty, we haven't done surveys probably since 2018, as we find out pretty quickly if people far more rare do we hear people that chime in and say, that was amazing, thank you very much. And instead we get the recommendations or challenges that people come up with. And they let us know those pretty quickly through email and through social media, not only on our social website, but we do have folks next door that are speaking on there, What's Up Albany, all of those folks bringing information back to us so that way we can figure out how we retool or improve moving forward. So, but once again, what is old is new again. So we're more than happy to go out and like, if that is something that you think would be of value, that's an easy, no problem at all. We have chatted though. I sent one after this last one just because too much time, even too much time passed. And at that point, everybody had already shared their good, bad, and ugly on social media and emails to us. So we imagine we'll still get quite a bit of feedback in that capacity. But but we're happy to put QR code, you know, kind of like the Festival Latino on the way out. We sent information out to our vendors and whatnot. They're pretty much responding on, you know, how easy setup was. Times where there's sales enough in order to make it worth their while to come back in the future. So that's kind of the information we're currently collecting.
I wanted to add, this is what the asterisk said, so I'll say it a few times if folks need me to. That asterisk is, this is intended to occur at the earliest phase of exploration before the final round of selection and contracts. So before there's been, you know, somebody solidified. I can say that again. This is intended to occur at the earliest phase of exploration before the final round of selection and contracts.
At that point, there wouldn't be, would there still be confidentiality issues?
I think one of the things that's really important, because part of the way I think it got framed when you talked about it, Kim, was this coming before the committee. The idea is that it's somebody from the HRC who's serving as a representative, so not necessarily bringing that name to the commission, right? But somebody actually from the commission representing the HRC and the communities, the diverse communities that we represent.
And I would say with that, we wouldn't be able to have, like, let's say you're the representative. I wouldn't want you to go out and ask all of your friends,
Sure.
what do you think about this person? Because at that point, we're very small. The board member doesn't know until they're like close to the end. Even our staff, like we're mums the word. Most of our department doesn't even know who's out there, just because we could get ourselves into a pickle if that happens. So I don't know if that helps the situation or hinders the situation. You know what I mean? It would be essentially you or Tammy or Heaty's opinion and feeling on something as one person with like your collective experience, but it wouldn't be.
You wouldn't be able to go out.
You wouldn't be able to go out and gather opinion.
Yeah, one of the things that you and I had talked about is that, you know, there should be, I would imagine there should be some possibility to be able to do a little bit of gathering, like public sentiment gathering, before you get too far down the road with a contract. Because I think that's really key if this is, unless it is just about, well, we're most interested in what our sponsors are trying to do with this.
Is it as simple as doing some sort of a blast, it's once a year that says, hey, we're getting ready to think about who we'd have for the event. So tell us who you'd like, and if we put it out in different places, maybe that gives everybody a chance to give feedback ahead of time.
And we would love, like, that is totally, yes, that is not a problem.
Yeah.
It would just be a matter of, like today or yesterday, we got our first person of the season that we got picked for, you know, a possibility. And it came in, you know, 1 hour, an hour and a half later, it was turned back and it was like, no, thank you. Based on the amount of money that they were asking for. So it's a pretty quick thing. If we waited until the day, it's possible we could have gotten back to Tom and Tom would be like, they would be like no longer interested in this portion of the West Coast. It's a very weird and bizarre thing. But yes, I love being able to send out to folks and say, hey, tell us who you want, because, you know, we have people who really like music and a bunch of variety in our crew, and we put together our list. I mean, I probably sent Lynn like 100 names over the last 3 weeks. But I'm just one person who's grown up in one environment and lives in one community. So yes, I mean, I think that is totally fine. I don't know how it would work if we like get our short list from our booking agent. He's like, here are the 2 people that potentially could be on this day. I don't know how. I do not know how it would work for us to send it out to, you know, a larger group and just be like, hey, dig into this. I mean, that's what you pay. Well, that's what you pay us to do. But granted, this year it had a conversation that I wish didn't happen. Typically every year we have something in some capacity that doesn't happen. Yeah,
Can you name the conversation?
just the agreements comments.
Okay,
So
yeah. Not a conversation about the planning process, but you're talking about,
this is what is said on stage by our performer.
okay,
Usually.
having a conversation.
Yeah, that's true, that's true. It started quite a bit of a conversation, but. Your prior, Wade Sugar Ray, he said something that was, pro LGBTQ, and we had people emailing. We had, anti-vax, we had some COVID stuff along the way. We had some point out somebody pouring alcohol, off the stage. So like there have been, every year, there's something. And every year we take a step back and we say, okay, what what do we do? And that's how the family friendly language got in there. I think that was after the alcohol situation. But kind of no matter who we book. If being the public venue, there is an opportunity for somebody to do something that is not scripted, that is going to be tied back to the city.
Right.
Can I ask a question? I mean, I'm not new to this type of a process, but I'm curious so I'm assuming that, do you sign their contract or do they have to sign the city contract?
Both.
They do both. So in the city contract, there's probably like code of conduct that they have to adhere to.
They have their own contract as well, that says that they're going to perform whatever it's, I forgot the exact link, but their artist normal standards, whatever that may be. So, and Ken will tell you this, you can't get an artist to change what they're gonna do based on where they're gonna go. They're not gonna do a different show for the most part in Albany that they would in something different in Salem or something. I mean, you can do, take different artists as an example and look, I mean, if we, I think somebody's like, if we got Snoop Dogg to come here, and, all right, Snoop, you can't say any of this stuff, and yeah, they're not gonna, I mean, it just, it won't. So it's tough to, I mean, obviously, I don't think anybody expected what happened on July 4th to happen, and I mean, I don't know that if that language is in the contract, that's another thing, you put that language in the contract, and I talked to Tom about it, the artists make those contracts. They don't put them together, their attorneys put them together, Tom knows somewhat what's in the contract, but the artists have no idea. So it might say, well, the artist agrees to do whatever, they're gonna do what they're gonna do. And so we have to just we have to be careful on when we're selecting who those people are and kind of get an idea of what kind of a concert that's gonna be. Based on what they've done in the past, and you're rolling the dice, but I mean, if we get Adele to come here, which I know would be fun.
We did not have the last somebody.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, but yeah, I mean, you get different people, you kind of know what kind of a concert you're gonna get. So, yeah, and again, there's a surprise, and to my knowledge, and I remember the Sugar, I was actually at the Sugar Ray concert back then, like, well, that was like 2017 or something like that. Yeah, I remember that one, the alcohol, but yeah, you don't anticipate them, so that doesn't get a lot of comfort. I mean, you said you had some people come.
People
Yeah.
send complete emails to myself
Yeah.
until then.
But this was the biggest spot.
This is
is the only one I've ever.
because it was a private buy.
Yeah, I mean, it was so since I've, been here since 2013, that's the only time I've heard somebody did something at a concert like, whoa, and I wasn't even in town. And that you guys were like, this happened, whoa, so yes, it's not often that we deal with that, but.
And I think the question that comes up then is, well, why did you invite this performer that does have a political party that they are vocally in support of?
And the answer gets to be that Albany has a selection of those particular parties and those particular people, and you choose one.
To the point of the person who wrote in. when I spoke as a citizen, not as a, or as a resident, not as a representative of this commission, it's not about like, it's about threat of violence.
And at that point, like I said, we went back and we watched YouTube videos. We reached out to find information about how other venues were dealing, indoor, outdoor venues were dealing with their additional security, were there additional, like. We listened to his, do radio advertisements coming into it to kind of see, because that was immediately after the Bibles. We had pre-authorized everything, pre-Bible. BB. And so, we went back and we're like, well, this is gonna be an interesting conversation. Oh, hi, Robin. Thanks for joining.
Well,
It's
hello
only-
there. Sorry about that. I am out of town, but then I realized I didn't. Well, the thing I had this evening wasn't going to happen, so I decided to try to join remotely.
Thanks for joining.
Yeah, I won't turn on my camera because I think the connection here in the hotel is a little iffy.
So we went back and we listened to kind of see how that's, because that's gonna be brought up on anybody's, pitch into a concert. And it was very salesman-like. In all honesty, it was, I've got this for sale. I've also got alcohol for sale. I've got coins for sale. Go to my website and, look at X, Y, and Z. So it wasn't anything that there was a further in, we did not expect this to come at our 40th anniversary kickoff.
Yeah.
Family event for 4th of July.
Yeah, I appreciate the work that goes into the, the vetting process. I don't doubt that that's like the least favorite of the job. I think, when it comes to something like, again, it's about, this was like a threat of violence. Not that the performer said he was going to threaten violence, but that he was, he was talking about threats of violence, right? That's something that I think in the contract language, I know contracts are really nebulous often for a reason. But when it comes to something like that, I do think there's an opportunity to, even if the artist signs it and they don't know what they're signing, then there's recourse. There's some kind of recourse for something like this. In terms of, having somebody who, a representative, ideally like, folks coming from the Art Commission and HRC have some investment in this being a really positive thing for the city, being like helping to bring some representation, because as it stands now, it sounds like the city isn't doing an active feedback loop around this. It's just a matter of hearing people give their feedback if it rises to the top.
Yes. And with that said, I would say a lot of things that you would think rise to the top do. So I don't want it to make it sound like we only get feedback if a situation like this happens, like we run out of toilet paper in a certain situation, the parking attendant at X, Y, and Z parking lot. So like, I do feel like we do get a fair amount of feedback. So but we don't have a specific that's very consistent that can be distributed.
Yeah, so
Not for lack of trying. You that mentioned that in 2018, you gave that up because you just weren't getting people to do that. And I mean, we see that in many cases around the city, of trying to get people to comment on the condition of the streets. We have to have focus groups and pay people to attend the focus groups.
well, and that might, I mean, that might be also something for the city to consider in what are the ways in which you're trying to get that information, right? Something at an event where somebody can scan a QR code is a lot different than, filling out a survey.
But didn't you go to the QR code? You said you gave up on
The good snitch stuff, yeah,
Yeah.
they ended up giving it up. But once again, that was pre-COVID.
Yeah,
QR codes were kind of at their,
yeah.
they were going down at that point, and then COVID kind of brought them back. And so who knows, we are happy to do that.
Yeah.
That is a slam dunk. We can make that happen.
Yeah, because the people who are attending, right, like it's right as they leave, The feedback, I think, is an important part of this kind of planning, right? Because otherwise it is making decisions based on really,
The good and the bad.
yeah, and those folks might be providing feedback based on the secondary and, tertiary sources, right? Okay, so let's return to this. I don't wanna kind of keep talking when I state anything. Yeah,
Well, so from what we've talked about, it's not really possible to do the first part of him.
Looking at the third term now.
Yeah. So what we need to do is figure out how else could we do something to get at the heart of what we're trying to
So
get.
that would be getting the list before it goes to the town and scout.
Or getting the feedback from people.
Right.
That says, hey, who do you think of that we might not be thinking of that's available?
Yeah.
Because like Kim said, when it comes down to it, picking the people is more based upon, oh, they happen to be driving through that night.
yeah, absolutely.
So we can't go, gosh, we want Usher because Usher's gonna be way over. Don't do it. It's not gonna be.
Don't put it in. So it sounds like that basically the second sentence of that first bullet point is not possible, correct? Correct. Or the first sentence of that first bullet point is possible, correct?
Yes, it still makes me a little bit nervous because the group's getting bigger, and I would say if the HRC and Arts Commission's in there, then Parks, Recs and Tree Commission should also be in there as our department one. And then we've essentially doubled the size of the group. Well, that's dramatic. I apologize. There's like 5 of us right now. So that would be adding 8. So it makes me a little nervous, but
It would be adding 2 people, right? A representative from each of those commissions?
us plus Parks and Rec and Tree.
You need to add.
Oh, because there are departments. Commission. So, and we brought this up at our last commission. We had one person who was very vocal, who was very upset and, had gone back and forth with Sean, had gone back and forth with me and the mayor about, is it recourse, we open up to a civil suit and all sorts of stuff. And then we had other members who were like, nope, we don't want anything to do with it. Like that's you as staff, like we want to hold it. So there was actually no movement or motion come forward from the Parks and Rec Commission outside of thanks for the season.
Can I offer a thought? So, I feel like as a commissioner, I'm not sure I to like be involved in this being selected to do these events, because that's for me, in my opinion, that's staff. And it sounds like from what I've heard, you did everything that you needed to do in order to have this individual back. And so instead of trying to control or play a part in who comes, put more energy into being more skilled in predicting things that happen on stage. Because after, so if it were just silent to something that's been said as the city or the commission, then we don't know if the community is taking that as acceptance, as opposed to somebody from the city or from the commission being able to interrupt it at the time that it happened, to get up on stage, to close it out, to make some comments that these are not the values of the city. These are independent thoughts or whatever, however that looks like, but I feel like waiting is sometimes just like, it makes people upset, forget about it, and then we go back to try and do something to control it at the beginning when in fact it's really, like, people are you can't control artists. They're gonna say what they're gonna say, they could have a bad day, they could have been listening to a podcast before they started performing, and then they get up on stage and they see somebody and so how is it that the city can then interrupt that comment during it or at the end of it, just to close it out, so that people can, instead of getting emails saying, what are you gonna do about it? You get emails saying, we really appreciate that you're stepping on the care.
So we can probably look at, we have to look into it, but and the answers. the answer off the top of our head, but I would say like. Knee-jerk reaction would be something, some training or somebody that could, like you said, close out after the fact, such as in the Lee Greenwood case, when it was over saying these views don't represent the views of the city of Albany, you know, whatever. One thing you don't, unless it gets like completely crazy, I would never stop a concert and a concert. If you go look at some chaos, YouTube or Google concerts that have been stopped in the middle of what people do. That you've got 2 people or 10 people that are mad about something, and then you pull the plug on a concert and there's 9,000 people there, and it could get bad. So not that they're paying a lot of money, because they're not, but the ones that, yeah. But anyway, so I think, but yeah, something like you said, to close out, if something like that were to happen again, I don't know. That is, and I'm not even, I mean, that one's kind of obvious, but then I don't know when, then we decide when you do it, right? Do we say, oh, they made some pro LGBT comments at the Sugar Ray concert, should we get up and say that doesn't represent the city? Or then are we opening up a can of worms and say, well, now we, you know, LGBTQ friendly, I mean, so you almost, like, it's back, in my opinion, from a legal standpoint, they're better to say nothing. If he says something like when, forgot Sugar Ray's lead singer, he said Mark, bad, I think that's right. But when he said that, I mean, yeah, if you would say something after, I think that might make him offend me. That you know, but I don't know. I mean, that was yeah, the league reading was a no-brainer, yeah. That's the only one that I can think of that you mentioned tonight that you would do that, like someone's pouring a bottle of liquor on stage. You know, get up there and say, hey, no one to say when 21. You know, I mean that. So yeah.
And we had prior, honestly, but the views and opinions represented by the performer or not may not be in alignment with the city, because as the city, we don't really.
You could
Yeah,
do
you
a
can,
disclaimer, like at the beginning.
At the
when they
beginning.
do an infomercial.
I was gonna
Every
say.
time you see an infomercial, it says the views of these does not represent. Yeah.
We, as people are
Yeah,
entering,
yeah.
and we could put it in, for rooms, we've got like canned comments, like that roll through, you know, questions are here, thank our sponsors. I mean, it could become a part of that, you know, and that way it's not necessarily overly calling attention to, but it exists out there so that hopefully people feel more comfortable and welcome and like they're along for the ride with the rest of us.
Yeah, because the only way people were able to then learn that is if they subscribe to the demographic. So there needs to be some, like, I think that makes a lot of sense, just from the standpoint of the city clearing its name, you know.
And we did get back, oh, sorry.
Well, I forgot your name. Edie, well, Edie had mentioned something earlier about getting feedback before the season, which you kind of positively, why not work that into somewhere in here? Is that something you seem to think that was
About getting feedback?
viable? Yeah, but what
Yeah.
people want to see.
Yeah, we'd love, I mean,
maybe we'll put out a call in January or December, I don't know, pick a month. And make that be part of the stuff that goes along with the city publications. Obviously, email as, hey, looking forward to next year, tell us who you'd like to see.
yeah.
If you're gonna get some unreasonable requests, yeah.
Yeah.
Might not, but.
And whenever we ask people what they want, we always have to think about the expectations that we set up and inevitably dash.
Well, and it could come with almost a bit of a disclaimer there. We're looking at this so that you know, Joe Q Public, here is how we get to pick these people. Really, it's based on who happens to be playing through our area. And we would love to know, and we'd love to know your dream list.
Yeah.
Please realize that some of those performers may not be in our availability. Oh, here we go.
We, And we do have that information on FAQ, but once again, you gotta go looking for an FAQ in order to see it. It's not like lead off into a post on social media or even to an email to HRC and.
So if it was the social media post, hey, here's a paragraph on how we look for this, we're looking for the dream, give us your hopes and dreams, and see what we can do.
Robin, did you have something?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I think he just shut up there because it looked like Shayla walked up.
I'm muted.
Oh, Shayla did drop.
So if we do that, if you do that, like, how does that come back to the HRC? Like, when I think about the role of the HRC, it's not to do a call for audit, right? Like, I mean, if we're here to represent marginalized communities, and how all of a sudden we're participating in who's gonna play in the concert. If we're looking for doing a call for Latino bands or Latin bands or something that pulls in the community that we're here to represent and do work for. I can see that, but in general, I mean, I know what you're trying to get at, you want to kind of beat out the bad actors, I don't know, I'm just trying to find my role here.
And to be very honest, we are like taking a look at what something could potentially look like and how that could be. We don't have to know what that's gonna look like, that could work, because two concert series at the exact same venue 3 days apart. Maybe there are other ways that we can serve the community by going into neighborhood. That would be more impactful. So that's something we're toying with the idea. And if that's the case, then, you know, like 100%, you know, if we're, you know, we have a bilingual story walk at Sunrise. We take a program to Sunrise and we're looking for folks that we would be able to come back to the HAC in this group and be like, hey, does anybody know anybody that would be a fit for X, Y, and Z?
Yeah.
But that's kind of, that one's nebulous at this point. We're still trying to figure out what our finances and what our goals are.
Yeah, because I can see if we do a call for artists and the only artists that you're bringing forward based on the criteria and the boundaries which you have are all country western white artists, you know what I mean? And we're not bringing in the Jamaican artists or the Latino bands that people are saying, yeah, I'd like to see this, I'd like to see this, and then all of a sudden it's looking very different than the community. It's like, I guess that's what.
And at this point, it's pretty much country and oldies, a tribute band starting to turn into a 90s, and then there's just kind of an opportunity for something else. But country does seem to be a pretty big staple here in this community and does draw the most substantial crowds. And so
We can do this.
something that
But so why didn't the committee work on trying to build sponsorship for those acts that are less popular?
anybody knows, like,
If you could offer it, even if only people.
I think that is a place, and I'm like, I offer this as like. As lovely. That we have a very large, you know, for the city, we have a large Latino population. We have a lot of Latino businesses in this community, and I think it's again that point of like, are we meeting the community where they are, right? That there are, it doesn't mean that it's at the expense of a country western concert, that a Latino person, who will draw a lot of people, I'm sure, not only from Albany, but from surrounding areas. And it's an opportunity maybe to look beyond just this like platinum sponsorship level, but to truly get a number of sponsors who are at a, you know, who are at a local business level, right? Who might not be a large corporation, but can contribute and also get that recognition, you know, of those folks who are attending.
and that's something that we, you know, had a good conversation about this. And so as we're looking, you know, that could be something that I reach out to Nancy and say, hey, does anybody want to go around with us? Like help introduce us to folks that potentially, you know, we don't have Spanish speaking staff and recreation side at this point on the, on the programming side here in City Hall. And so we would need to have an ambassador come with us in order to, you know, I don't know if that's appropriate or not, but in order to make sure that we're not showing up and just like handing a piece of paper and like, give us money. So,
Well, it'd be like at the Latino festival, they had the band there, so for somebody to go, hey, we have this event, in summertime, we'd love for you to participate in it, right? It needs to be those direct asks and then help them or show them the process. Because government is not fun for most people, and if you're not the community, or you don't feel that you're a community people. So to try and do that real intentional ask for these different bands to come participate in the program, I think it can make a big difference.
and we've set up stuff to that before, asking for folks to submit performance, because anybody can submit a performance. We haven't had the best one yet. But fortunately, we got matched up with a group that came and performed at Northwest Art and Air, Aparo Cruise. And they were great, you know, we did 90 minutes out, we spent more money on them than we an act of, you know, that portion of the day, but we felt that we finally, we were like, oh, we're gonna take it, please come and perform. So, and that's community building that honestly we need help with. And thank you for being part of that.
Could we pick something local? I'm thinking about our experience with, there was that mariachi band that was at the event and they gave us their cards and all that. Could we do something like that and try to pick a specific act that is something local? Say, hey, we want a mariachi band for one of these dates. And then we use that as our introductory spot to go, okay, community guys, we're looking for somebody. Who do you suggest and who would you sponsor from your business? And then there's a way to connect.
Oh, it was like a free event?
Okay, we're looking for okay, so there has the opening.
Do companies sponsor an artist, or they sponsor the entire? The whole state, so.
And for Summer Sounds, it's gonna be struggled sometimes with sponsorship, due to the crowd size that comes out. It is a more expensive production to put on for, you know, a couple thousand people that are being up there, or a couple hundred. And so we've even gone out of trying to say, well, can we have a title sponsor instead of the whole series? Like pick the genre that you're interested in and just focus on that. And we haven't necessarily had success with that either. So it's
The bigger the crowd.
the bigger the crowd.
Yeah, and what are the bigger crowds we had over the last 5 years?
Or you're
Sugar Ray was big, Smash Mouth was really big.
Yeah.
They were huge. Yeah, where the 90s groups are starting to bring the.
Yeah.
It's true, hey, Chubby Checker still brought it with his name, but Tower of Power this year was also a really big one. And you know, a lot of those folks were 50 to 70 years old, but like they were traveling in. So we, it's the 90s in the country seem to be the ones that are bringing them in currently. Unless and our cover bands seem to be pretty consistent. We know what we're getting with them. They're easy to work with, they're more affordable.
Service is terrible in this room. As the guy was looking on, and you know, we're talking, it was brought up in our office today, he was brought up, like, good timing. I was looking at Ricky Martin, asking if he, but I haven't seen these tours since 2020, although he's in Dubai. So, yeah.
We had a couple of them. Yeah, so. Yeah, so. That's all I can say. You get excited about somebody and you're like, oh, they look at media page and you're like, damn it. So yes, it's a little bit of a fluid process. I hate that, because I want to be collaborative. I want to make sure that we're being out there, but there are certain things that unfortunately I have to be a little bit more protective in order for the finances and just, you know, being staffed. But I think sending information out saying, please help us, give us who you would like, 100%. If people have ideas of businesses or and like connections that they would like us to make, we would love a soft handoff, like an introduction, a welcome. Maybe we try to think of something that we can reach out to the community. Is it a Loteria night? Is it a mariachi band? Like, you know what I mean? Is there something that we're able to program to, come humbly to a community and say, we don't know everything, but like, tell us what you would like and we'll do our best to make it happen, but know that it's gonna be perfect. We can do the surveys. But in general, you know, it's a pretty we're in, you know, a very polarized. And so on my end, you know, we've had people come to us with programs and say you should remove that program. I believe that is bothering us, you know, that is bad for our children. And Peter and I've had this conversation about that. I'm gonna pull Oracle because you know, if people don't want it, they will not show up, they will not register and they won't go. But I don't want to be the person editing content and what is available out there. You know, we play a really fine line, you know, religion and sales. We're not gonna hire somebody out, you know, to come and anyways. So I just wanted to be very upfront. That's something that like people can be people, and as long as they're acting professionally and in business capacity, I'm gonna let it roll. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but
Yeah, I think, I mean, the one thing to bullet point two there, like the one thing that I don't know what exists in terms of the performer expectations and code of conduct, but I think particularly following this incident, something that explicitly says that family friendly does, by family friendly you mean does not threats of violence. You know, that because what that would do, you know, if you're somebody who hears that somebody is going to come and kill you, that is something that a child might fear that and I'm terrified. You know?
and so in kind of thinking about this, so if and this is something that we're, you know, Sean has seen a little bit of and that we're toying around with, but that still has some different definition. This is our code of conduct that we have for our patrons and our instructors. This is in our building. So if somebody were to come to me and say somebody's acting inappropriately at one, I would be able to say with a straight face, are they following the code of conduct that we would ask for somebody at the River Community Center or Albany Community Pool? And this is, I mean, it's far longer, but it also talks about things that are facility specific, but like these are the ones that I think potentially could have an opportunity in an offer letter or, you know, I mean, I don't know if it would be in the contract because we talked about like there's nothing legally that we're able to stand on, but like here are some of the things that like we as a department value and we try to keep people feeling safe and welcome in the facility. So this is the language that we have, not in our contract, but like this is something that I can throw out there that maybe we get to play with and see if there is. Is there the possibility to extend this to Robin so that she can? Oh, sorry, Robin.
I'm sorry. Yeah, no, I'm kidding. The audio's a little shaky coming from my side.
I can read it out loud too. It says
I think she was choosing a question first.
I just wanted to add something. And I'm sorry if you couldn't hear the full audio, but I understand we're talking about family friendliness, but making sure that there's no talk of violence. But shouldn't there be something in there specific to hate speech? Isn't there a legal definition of what hate speech is? So if I mean, obviously, you know, your right to free speech is protected, but not the right to incite people to hate and hurt other people. You know, I just wonder if that is an appropriate thing, because gosh knows there's a lot of that stuff going around these days, and like you say, we live in very polarized times, and it would seem to be a very basic level of requirement, is that to be not be hate speech.
I think we could put something in the in our contract prohibit hate speech. I mean, someone could challenge that as being subjective, but I mean, but we could put something in there, at least it would be a deterrent. If anybody read it, that it would be anyway. I think again, this is probably the first time and knock on wood, probably the only time we're gonna have to deal with somebody, voicing hate speech at a concert. But yeah, putting something in there like that definitely couldn't. So.
Okay.
Just with you on.
Good. I mean, it would be a simple add a sentence to our family friendly.
Yeah, because I could,
It is, so yeah.
because the current clause is, purchaser, producer, and artist acknowledge and agree that this is a family-oriented event and has been advertised as such. Producer and artist agree that artist language and actions shall be in compliance with all federal, state, and local laws, including obscenity laws.
It kind of covers it, but if you want to, yeah.
Specific.
No, it's
Obscenity laws.
Or just put it, hate speech is prohibited somewhere in that, we can put that in there, so.
If we add threats of violence, because hate speech is so, there's no legal definition for it. But when there's a threat, like this is about a threat of violence, like I know that it was targeted towards a certain group of people, but that group of people wasn't directly named with an identity factor. This though was a threat of violence.
Sorry. We can look at it. When I think of threat of violence, I'm thinking of it in a different context where I think of threat of violence, if someone's up on stage saying, we are going to do this, we're going to go out and kill these people, or let's go out and take over this establishment and smash this stuff or whatever, that's a threat of violence. Whereas if someone's saying someone else is coming here to do something, I think it's disparaging, but I don't know if it's they're threatening violence. I don't know, in that case, like Lee Greenwood, I don't know if he was threatening violence. He might have been attempting to incite it. But yeah, but he wasn't saying, I'm gonna kill people or whatever. I don't know what his intent was in saying what he said, but someone could maybe look at that and say, well, he was trying to incite violence because he's trying to get people riled up to commit violence against other people.
Yeah, I think leaving it nebulous by saying threatening violence does allow for us to take an incident like this with Lee Greenwood and say that is a threat of violence. That's threatening violence, right? It's not that he said he was going to go do that, but he was threatening that was, was going to happen to people.
Threatening or inciting violence. Yeah, we could look at it. Just making that, yeah.
I think that's exciting. I mean, it would be the same thing, if an artist were to talk about inciting violence towards the police, right? Right, it'd be the exact same thing. And there are, as we know, that's part of various artistic expressions at various times in the, in our society, but we wouldn't allow that, right?
That was a big controversy in like the late '80s or right around 1990 with NWA. They had a song, "F the Police," and it was, definitely an anti-police song that they played at concerts, and they were threatened with arrest if they performed the song in certain cities, not all cities, but some cities. And they did it in some cities, even when they were arrested. So it was very controversial back then. So.
I like her ready to.
I want to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just really quick there.
Okay, yeah.
Just really quick, because this email was sent to us from a citizen. There's some comments about the Pride event. That is not a city sponsored event. And so what they do at Pride and what happens at Pride is
Brian's business.
Yeah. I think it's more than a misconception people have.
Yeah,
And there, I mean, we did have people come in business from the public and say that they wanted the city to vet all vendors. So that, they were at the dais 2 weeks prior, the week prior to 4th of July. That was public testimony that was happening. So it's, that somebody was wanting the city to step in, and once again,
yeah,
the city has said, we're not reviewing vendors.
Not related and kind of related, that reminds me just off of my head. We need to be careful when things we don't sponsor, but people using our logo. If they are, because then it looks like we are sponsoring it, and if we know they're using it, the logos, and we don't say anything, then. That regardless of what it is, so yeah, we would be careful.
But that might be a different.
Yep. So yes, and I read my response is in the email. So there wasn't it. So let's try to summarize to wrap on this. So we have come up with the following suggestions. We have just coordinated with Parks and Rec on adding some or regarding some language to the performer. We will work with Parks and Rec on trying to solicit more feedback for performers in advance of selection. And I would say also following the concert series.
and working with the hack to maybe reach out specifically to more local performers.
And then that, we didn't really discuss at length that final bullet point, other than that might be something that Parks and Rec can do, is to try to do a direct feedback loop following an event. At which point I do think, then it might be that Parks and Rec says, hey, we've got this feedback. And it's feedback that really feels like we need HRC's guidance here, right? And so coming back to both HRC and the Arts Commission with that feedback, if there's a place where
Should those events be something that we add to the calendar? And I mean, I know we've talked about having HRC there and helping get a booth there. More specifically, looking for feedback, whatever that looks like.
I think it could certainly, we have greeters that, welcome people as they come in. I think it would be, if there's a volunteer position, it'd be lovely if we could get Human Relations Commission t-shirt, button. And that way, if you guys were interested, you could help greet people, collect canned food, and then say thank you very much. Let us know what you think. Here's the survey. I think that could definitely be something.
Can I say thank you for being here? Excuse myself, as much as I hate to leave, I hate the disappointment of making them. But thank you all for serving on the HRC. Okay.
Great night.
Okay, so I think I've got my marching orders. You wanna recap them? All right, I feel good. I'll recap it. That's all right. This is good. It's like repeating back. This is what I'm hearing. Okay, so for Future River Rhythms and Summer Sun series, our department will solicit more feedback in advance for artists that we're interested in. So that'll be working with our citizen advisory groups to send out information so that you can send out. We'll figure out some way to collect all of that information without it potentially just coming to my email, although I do really love it because I'm nosy and I'd love to see it. So, following, also working with HAC to make sure that we are spreading the word, to see if there's any local groups. If we do change any of our other formats or do openers or anything like that, that would be appropriate. That might be an opportunity. Also see if we can potentially get some soft introductions to local businesses that maybe would be interested in sponsoring or getting involved and seeing what that could potentially look like. So that's, I think, my notes on my first bullet. Second one, coordinate with Parks and Rec language, pretty much in our language that we currently have, with Sean to incorporate hate speech, well, not to incorporate hate speech. Very much the opposite, make sure hate speech is called out. That's not good. And then, calling out threats of violence, and seeing how we can work on that language and see where that would be appropriate to go. And then our survey, like we've already talked about it as a group, that one is, well, it was something that was not fruitful many years ago. Times have changed, and if that is a recommendation that folks think that will give us some good feedback.
Yeah,
Can we help with the survey to see if we can read some questions?
yeah.
Could it be as easy as a give us a thumbs up, give us a thumbs down, and then here's your blank comment screen. So you work with that, you like it, you don't like it, and then.
It's a beast to move through that data.
Yeah. So we'll work with, it's already scary sometimes. We'll work with Matt, who's the city's public information, community engagement officer. I always mess up his name. As you know, we have Polco available that if this group or any group is interested in getting community feedback, if we wanted to draft language, we would be able to put on Facebook. So I'll work with Matt to see if there's some prompts that could potentially be useful and consistent, because selfishly, if we're gonna do this, I wanna be able to compare between events and compare between programs, so that we're asking similar questions, so that we can make more generalizations based on the data.
If Matt's at all open though to some feedback from this commission so that we can ensure that some of those questions about representation are represented. But I think that would be really helpful.
Cool.
Yeah. Cause as a resident of Albany, I guess I care whether or not somebody likes a concert or doesn't like a concert. But as an HRC member, I don't care about that. I care about whether or not they feel it represents them, whether it's their identity, their culture, like something that shows that is starting to allow us to start gathering data about who is the city really serving, and how do we make sure that we are every, and that means diversify events and diversify outreach and.
Would it be something that you guys want me to coordinate with Matt, to have him come in and talk about like surveying tools and seeing like how we could potentially use it as a commission to gather feedback? Would that be helpful?
I think that'd be great, but like what I'm hearing you say, Tammy, is that it's that we're really focused like on within the survey that Parks and Rec will be asking for this, that it is that there are certain, questions about kind of.
Right.
Like, yeah, we might want to be able to use those tools at some point, so it'd be great to know about that, but more importantly, that those kind of questions that might be.
Thank you for the clarification.
With that, do folks feel ready to move on to scheduled business 5B? Any last thoughts about river rhythms and summer sounds?
I think opening that is a good idea. Thought about that, been there before, I think it, but like a local group, like events or events ahead of time, start to early. Then there's my, like that too, get more time. Don't think there's anything out here I need to be.
I think you're good. You provided it. Thank you.
All right, so 5B, hack and NAACP representative. Tied up on the back side are links. I sent you 2 dates that I had signed up for. I don't see them on here, so
Dude, I'm sorry.
it's okay. So I had said that I would take. You know what, I missed it when I didn't even pay attention when I was reviewing the agenda ahead of time, so no worries at all, but I had said that I would take the 2 November dates, the NAACP and hack. I'm not able to make the hack this next Tuesday, if anyone else can. It was really helpful to go in September and good morning.
Yep.
3 p.m.
3 to 5.
Really hard.
Yeah, I could do it. You want me as a new person to go?
Tammy then.
Very much.
December, I mean, no, I'd be kind of surprised if the half day actually made at that time, but
Oh, yeah, that's a
is
20.
anyone able or wanting to take the NAACP meeting on December 12th? Do they meet by Zoom or they in person? It varies. That's the difficult thing is.
And I put them on the calendar, but I can't always determine if they don't give a schedule in advance, it's.
Yeah, so sometimes it's in person, and that's the difficult thing for me anyway, is that sometimes it's in person and in person.
Unfortunately, I'm covering 2 departments at work right now, so my schedule is, busy.
Thank you for being here tonight.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I can do the December half if they need to.
You've got that.
If they need,
And I will do the December 12th NAACP unless somebody else.
I did the NAACP in September.
Okay.
It's, I'm certainly willing to go back, probably not in December though. And yeah, certainly into the new year.
So, Robin, do you have anything that you want to share from that meeting?
Well, to be fair, the meeting was mainly, I would say, administrative on their side. They were involved in choosing whether or not to have board members at large, non-voting board members. So that pretty much took up their entire meeting. But it was interesting to see that process and to see, it's a large group that organization and see it at work. So I would definitely like to go back and participate.
I'll give just a brief update from the September half meeting. This was a kind of a retrospective on Festival Latino. They had, I can't remember how many people they said they estimated attended, but they did really simple feedback. As you exited, there's QR code and 40 responses within. Yeah, they have a really like a decent response, decent number of responses for, the number of people who actually attended. And I think, one of the themes that came up is advanced planning, and sharing some of the labor, because I think it was a very small group of people who did a majority of that labor. I do think there's still a desire for some support from the city, and you and I have talked about ways we can like be 2 birds with 1 stone there in terms of, trying to like if River Rhythms has an artist who is, of the community, and there's an opportunity to try to do a synergizing festival, I think it's a great opportunity. But it was a really successful event that they did with very limited fiscal support and a lot of grassroots organizing. And so one of the things that I think is a really good lesson is to like take some of the lessons that they've learned from that organizing and think about what that means for some of the city events, right? Because this was a dedicated group of volunteers who pulled together a pretty large event and engaged people from throughout the valley. Awesome. That was great.
I heard great things.
it was a hot day too, so like, it was a good crowd.
It really was. And it was something that I was like, this is a point of pride. And this is a point of pride that people from outside of town who came to it were, wow, I had no idea that this, you know. So thinking about that and what it could mean for the city to maybe offer a little hand there. Particularly as I know, Parks and Rec has really struggled with getting folks who are bilingual to apply for jobs, but it's, it's a matter of whether or not people feel like that it's a place for them. Okay. All right, business from the members.
I'm sorry, was that business from the commission?
From members, yeah, you.
Okay. I wanted to share with you all about community development, my work over there. So we're primarily going through agency presentations, for the next yearly round of CDBG funding. So many of the same, some different, but many of the same agencies come in and present their thing right now. But I had some feedback from citizen feedback, actually, that led to me bringing up the issue of the city, of course, getting rid of the camping, the Marvin's Gardens camping facility, and dispersing all those people into surrounding areas, and in particularly in the parks, right, in the woods. And so I think the feedback there is, that we did this thing. It was a problematic area down there, whatever. Maybe the folks, were not fully Albany. They were coming in to specific. There was a number of, as I think, sure you may have received and seen it either in the news or just general feedback online about that. The city still just dispersed them, and these folks. So bottom line is, I raised the issue, and then the commission suggested that I draft a letter to try to get the city council to consider a homelessness task force, and see if that can't be dealt with. But in the instances of the parks, of course, where people are out there. And I know, Parks has limited resources to clean up or to police the situation. And then, in the case of, Simpson, for instance, it's the sheriffs out there because of the jurisdiction issue. But it's pretty bad. I mean, and I think, we have to do something as a city. If it's designating a camping area or parking lots or something where folks can come and lay their head and have access to the basic services that exist, that's my feedback. So if this commission feels like that's something that they want to support, or you think I'm heading off in the wrong direction on that, please feel free to give me that feedback.
Robin, did you all then talk, as you were talking about kind of a task force around houselessness, did you at all talk about the housing affordability task force being a part of that?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Did you at all talk about the housing affordability task force as being a part of that?
Yeah, housing affordability is a big theme of that commission. So it's both on the housing plan, the input into the housing plan for the city, but also, and I went to in September a task force on that, but also how these funds are distributed to agencies to service more affordable housing programs and those types of things as well. So, yeah. We didn't specifically say bring up a affordability task force, but that's certainly feedback that I can give them, Allison.
Well, there is a housing affordability task force. That's what I was asking. If when you all were talking about the task force on houselessness, if you had communicated with that task force that already exists at all.
No, that's a great idea. I will do so.
Yeah, I think, I mean, it's definitely something that is a very, very present issue in the city, and I can say in going to and listening to city council meetings prior to the closing of Martin's Garden. The rationale was about some violence that had happened at Marvin's Garden, and I think not having resources to attend to that. However, I do want to clear how the dispersing addresses that at all. So
I don't think it does. I mean,
I
I
don't
think
think it does either.
I mean, you have people that you have our citizens that are afraid to use parks that they should be able to, you know, and again, I'm not trying to make the unhoused people appear scary in any way. That's not the point. The point is that they deserve better than that, you know, and I think as a community, we need to look at the best practices of all the communities of our size, of our similar budget, et cetera, and are we doing our utmost to address that given the resources that we have?
I do know, I'm on the outsides of some conversations, but I do know that there was quite a bit of outreach in the weeks prior, both Helping Hand and Chance being out there on a daily basis, like letting people know, like, we've got beds available, we're like, come on in. I understand that that's not always a choice that some people want to make, as that is not the environment that they're interested in moving into. And so those are a lot of the folks that we saw dispersed to other areas.
Yeah.
So I do want to clear, like, there was a very intentional targeted reach with our service providers that we have who have beds going out there the weeks prior.
Yeah.
And a couple of people did take advantage of, like, they were like, well, I guess this will be the direction of going. So I just want to put it out there that it wasn't very much like you guys are out, move along. It was a, this is not working, so let's try to link you with services that currently exist that hopefully will meet your needs.
Yeah, definitely.
And I know that providers were out there on a regular basis to try to get people connected to services, yeah. And I think at that time, Chance, because I'm on the Chance board, they had 49 beds available. Okay, but yeah, it's not a good choice at all.
Yeah, and the difficulty now is that there is not like a central place where if, you know, for service providers to be able to say, I know that I can
Now it's
meet a large population here with these services.
They do have, so Chance does have resources. Providers come to Chance, and Chance is a really popular place. People that are struggling to go to. You don't have to be going through rehab or anything. You could to anybody, and they serve representation there. Yeah, so they have service providers there, and they certainly have peer support there that can connect people to service providers. But I know, like, when you have congregation, it is a place where the service providers can go. But I can tell you that most of them know where it as well. When they traverse around, like, they know all, like, I'd say the hot spots, and they're with law enforcement. And Lynn County does have a like a task force, if you will. I think it's very city representation. Yeah,
Kirsten Glazer.
yeah.
Sorry, what was that last sentence?
Oh, sorry, we have a mental health representative that used to work for the county, Kirsten. She now works for the city in PD, going out to make sure that she's helping folks that are in crisis and providing that kind of trauma-based interaction to be helpful.
Yeah.
Trauma informed, not trauma-based.
Sorry.
It was your about everything that started, so.
I apologize.
Okay, my brain.
Let's hear for it.
So Robin, I guess, yeah, I mean, report back if there are, I'm sure. You know, if there's a need for an additional task force, I definitely think it's worth touching base with the Housing Affordability Task Force as well, just to better understand kind of where, you know, the interests converge.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. That's great. Great place to go. Yeah.
Other business from members? Staff updates? No, which is weird. Sorry. Oh.
Happy Halloween, come to City Halloween.
Okay, that's so cute. That, I just got that.
Everybody knows registration's been extended, so it's a free event on the 29th. Little ones, I mean, adults can come too, just my birthday can't be, well, you know.
I think
So-
it's candy bar.
But they're basing the numbers on the youth. So, opportunity that, like, we used to do a Halloween event after that came up in COVID. I say we, me and Parks and Recreation, it kind of ran its life cycle, our numbers declined. And talking about community engagement and bringing people into City Hall, it was like, we're trying not to be a governmental scary place, we're trying to be a fun scary place. And so City Halloween was kind of born of that, so that way people can see it as more than just the place you go to pay your utility bill or pay for a permit or go in something. So that is our attempt at opening the doors and bringing younger folks in here so that way City Hall is not something that's scary.
Is that like an invite for us to come hang out with Parks and Rec on your days off?
Ooh, I like it. Sure. So yes, and on that, I'm trying to think. That's kind of where we are right now. Everybody's just kind of regrouping, figuring out what budget cycles. We are a 2-year budget cycle. We're in our 2nd year, so we're like 7-8 months away from adopting a new one. And there's a lot at stake. There's lots being talked about with road improvement, city services fee. Everybody's just feeling very pinched, and like everybody else's our costs are rising as well. So after the election, we'll have a better sense of what the makeup of our new city council is going to look like, as we will have 2 new councilors no matter what. So a third of council will turn over in a year that we're going into a budget. So
Fun.
so that all of us are just kind of like Halloween, yeah, in the wing right now. So that's kind of where we are. As additional information comes out, I'll let you know. But right now, we're just prepping and tidying things up. That's all I have.
So I see next meeting date TBD on here. And I believe it's because the next last Tuesday in November is 2 days before the observed Thanksgiving holiday. And I guess that this is why people are not sure if they can come. That's not me, yeah, the 26th.
Well, that week, so,
No school.
yeah, conferences.
Are the kids in school here ever? I feel like they're always. So it sounds like that.
Easy.
That'd be. Robin?
Yes.
Tuesday, November 26th is when the next HRC meeting would be. Would you be available?
Yeah. What is that? The week of Thanksgiving?
It is.
Yeah.
So Tuesday. So Thanksgiving's on Thursday. Yes. I mean, I would be available. I could make that.
I may not be, but if that's the case, I'll work to find somebody who is around. If I'm not back in time. Gina, how about you? Does that work for you? Were you thinking?
I think so, with my dad's condition, I don't think we'll be going.
If you guys are interested in having it, we'll find a way to cover off that then.
The big reason why I think it's kind of, it's an important one to have is because otherwise, we're missing 2 months in a row because technically, well, I don't know about where everyone else works, but the 24th is an observed holiday at my.
Would we want to split the difference and go like 6 weeks from now, so that way it's a little unorthodox possible, we can just like create a different schedule. I mean, we have to notice it, but if the holidays, things get a little squirrely, like city council moves around their dates in November and December because it's hard to get everybody. So if we wanted to look at an alternative time,
Tuesday the 10th, but is that?
I can do the 10th.
I'm just throwing it out there.
I hear it too.
Robin, how's the 10th look to you?
December 10th is still a Tuesday, right?
Yep.
It is?
Yes,
Yes, I can do that.
excellent. Say, let's do it.
Okay. Cause that way folks.
And you'll move it on the calendar that shows the appointment.
Do you know what we can count
So instead of November, we're doing December 10th.
Got it. And no December 24th.
Right.
Thank you all for your flexibility.
Yeah.
Yeah.
HAC meeting,
They meet largely on Zoom.
how they do.
Yeah, so every once in a while, it will be an in-person meeting.
Okay.
At the library, right?
But they've had it to a couple different places as well. But it's often on Zoom, I think, just because of works best for people working all different spots.
So how do I get the Zoom?
I can,
Is it Nancy that says the Nancy? You can get that first.
yeah, just send an email to Nancy. It's Ana Ojeda, who usually is the person who's sending out like the agenda, although I think Ana is taking a step back from that role.
Okay.
So they are working on like identifying a new secretary. With that, let's anyone want to make a motion to adjourn this meeting?
I'll make a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Would anyone like to second that motion? All those in favor of adjourning?
Don't really have to make a motion.
Yeah.
Thank
Bye,
you all very much. Stop recording. Bye, Robin. Bye, Robin.